Welcome to Ceridan Self-Service Managers Training. The purpose of this training is to efficiently train managers on self-service so they can fully utilize and understand the capabilities that this system has to offer. It is the manager's responsibility to train any new employees upon hire within self-service. We will first discuss roles that pertain to all employees, so we're going to log in as an employee so that you can get an idea both what you and all your employees would have access to. From there, we'll log in as a manager that has direct reports and then as a manager with indirect reports so that you can see the difference and the functionality that you have access to. Self-service is an internet-based system that allows for employees and managers to update HR and payroll records. The system is to take the place of paper forms and allows changes to be made online. Some examples are updating contact information, such as an address or phone number change. Employees can change payroll items, such as a direct deposit or what they're currently claiming on their W-4. Title and rate changes, updating beneficiaries, and much more can also be done within self-service. There are some actions that will still really require paper forms, and we'll discuss these at the end. The system has a built-in hierarchy process for approvals. Depending on the request, the number of additional approvals needed will vary. We have already set up the necessary approvals that will be needed based on the type of request. Once a request has been submitted, the request will be electronically sent within the system to the appropriate person that needs to approve. An email notification is also sent to this person based on the email address that they have entered within self-service. To give a few examples, one example that would require more than one approval is a pay increase. A manager would go into self-service to request an employee increase. The request would then go to the manager's supervisor for approval. The supervisor would receive the request within the system and also receive an email notifying them that they have a request pending. The supervisor can then choose to approve or reject the request. If they approve, it will continue up the hierarchy ladder for approval. If they deny, the original requester is notified and given the option to make changes and resubmit. An example that doesn't require more than one approval is an address change. An employee would enter their new address within self-service. It would go directly to payroll to approve and accept within the system. The web address for self-service is listed here. There is also a link to self-service under the Quick Links box on Dominium Connections. Login instructions are located on the payroll page of Dominium Connections under the HR department. The format for the username is the same for all users. An employee's username will be the first letter of the employee's first name, followed by their last name with no space in between. It is case sensitive, so the first letter of the first name is capital, the first letter of the last name is capital, followed by the remaining of their last name in lowercase. Employees with names that would result in a duplicate username, for example, if we had a John Smith and a Joe Smith, their username would be J. Smith. And the system cannot allow for more than one employee to have the same username. So one employee would get a username for J. Smith, the other would get J. Smith 1, and so on. Please have your employees attempt to log in with the standard format, which again is the first the first letter of their first name followed by their last name, and if they're unsuccessful, please have them contact me to verify. The default password for all users upon their initial login is the last 4 digits of their social. Employees are ready to utilize self-service following payroll's receipt and processing of the new hire paperwork. An email will be sent to their site telling them that the employee is ready to go within self-service. Let's go out to the internet and get started. I am going to log in to self-service using the Ceridan self-service link under the Quick Links box on the Dominium Connections page. So just go ahead and click the link and it will bring in the login page for self-service. Now I have created some example employees for the purpose of this training. We are going to first log in as an employee who does not have any direct or indirect reports, again to give you an idea as to what you have access to as well as what all your employees have access to as well. As we previously discussed, the username is the first letter of their first name followed by their last name. The employee that we're going to log in is named Maintenance Test. So his username will be capital M, capital T, lowercase est. Upon an employee's first login, they will be prompted to change their password from the default, which is the last four of their social, to a personal one, as well as to enter a reminder phrase for their password. Once this has been done, an employee can utilize the two links listed here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in now to show you the process of changing your password, and then we're going to log back out so I can just quickly show you the way that you can utilize these two links. So let's go ahead and log in. Enter my password, click the login button, and it will bring me to a page where I am prompted to change my password. So I'm going to enter the old password, which is the password I just used to log in. For initial users, this will be the last four of their social. Here they can enter a new password of their choice. You are then asked to verify that new password by typing it again. And you also need to enter a password reminder phrase, which should pertain to the password that you entered and would be used to obviously remind you of what your password was. So I'm going to go ahead and just enter a reminder phrase and click Save. It is telling me that my changes have been saved and I could click OK. If you click OK, it will take you to the home page. But again, I would like to briefly review those two links with you. So I'm going to choose to log out, and I'm going to log back in. So it'll bring me back to the username and password screen. Now, in order to utilize the Need a Password Reminder or the Forgot Your Password, you need to enter your username so the system knows who is requesting this information. So I went ahead and entered the username for the maintenance test that we are going to be logging in as. If you click on the Need a Password Reminder, the password reminder that we just entered will populate here, so you can go ahead then and use that to enter your password. If that reminder doesn't assist you, you can choose to click the Forget Your Password link. I'm not actually going to click it now, but what it will do is it will delete the password that you previously have entered within self-service, and it will create a system-generated password, and it will email you that password based on the email address that you have entered within self-service. Since I do remember my password, I'm going to go ahead and enter it now. Click the login, and we are now within self-service. Again, we're currently logged on as an employee who does not have any direct reports, and all the items listed here are items that every employee has access to, whether they are an employee without direct reports or they are an employee with both indirect and direct reports. To walk you through the home page, the first thing you are going to want to have your employees do is enter their email address. Now, I have already entered an email address here. But if I had not, it would say you do not have an email address on file. Please enter it here. I'm going to go ahead and click the Change Your Email Address link, and it will bring up the email address page. Now, this is the exact same page that shows when you need to enter your email address for the first time. So you would just go ahead, type in your email address here, and click Save. If you don't have an email address, you can click this radio icon, and any notifications will be sent to HR, and we in turn would contact the employee in which they affect. We do recommend that all managers enter their business email address within the system, as this is the email address that will be used to notify you that you have a request to review within self-service. I'm going to go ahead and leave this as is and click Save. It says my changes have been saved, clicked OK, and it will bring us back to the home page. Moving to the links on the upper left-hand side, you can click the home link at any time to bring you back to the current page that we're on. You can click the tutorial link, and it will bring up access to a self-service employee study guide. Now, since we're currently logged on as that employee, they only have access to the employee study guide. However, if we were logged in as a manager, managers have access to both the employee study guide and the manager study guide. This is a very useful tool and can be printed for easy reference when using self-service. I'm just going to go ahead and close out of this. You have the option to click the Help icon. If you click this, a separate window will appear, and it gives you the option to search the system by contents, index, or keyword. And I actually find this help item very user-friendly and recommend that all employees utilize either the help or the tutorial first if they have any questions. You can then also click the log out button, and this will exit you from the system. I am going to go back to the home page by clicking the home page link. And the next item that we'll be discussing is this to-do area. Now, the employee that we're currently logged in on does not have any documents pending, as it's displaying 0. However, to briefly display what each one of these, or review what each one of these links mean, the documents pending your approval, you can click this link to view documents that you need to approve. You should also have received an email notification telling you that you have a request to review within self-service. Requests in progress, you can click this link to view documents pending that you have either approved or documents that you've submitted and are in need of additional approval from others. Sorry about that. And then the documents saved for later. You can click this link to view documents that you have chosen to save for later for whatever reason, whether you needed additional information or you just had to step away for a moment. If you're in the process of completing some type of request for an employee, you can choose to save it for later, and it would show here. The All Documents link, this will just list all documents that you've submitted. Now, requests do expire after 10 days. So if you are going to be unable to access self-service for whatever reason, you can temporarily choose to delegate your approval, meaning you can assign somebody else to receive your notifications and approve them for you in your absence. And we'll go over that process later. Moving to the right-hand side of the screen, the personal information, again, all employees have access to this, and it pertains to the employee that is logged in. You can click on My Profile, and this will just list personal information, so employees can log in and verify the Social Security number that we have on file for them. It will give updated employment information, job information, compensation information, as well as upcoming and previous review and salary review information. Now, as we are logged in as a test employee, the review and the job review and salary review information is not populated, but feel free to log on as yourself following this presentation to view that information. You can also choose to view your personal information, employment information, job, etc., anything that's listed on this form as of a specific date. So you can go back in time to view what your compensation was a year ago if you wanted to. I'm going to click Home to go back to the home page. Change of address. Employees can request a change in address here. So if they go ahead and click the link, and I'm just going to go through an example of this. So you would want to enter an effective date. Now, the effective date does need to be either within the current pay period or a future date. You cannot request changes for a previous date within self-service. Those would need to be done on the appropriate paper form for the request. So I'm going to go ahead and enter a date that pertains to the pay period that we're currently in. Address information, if this is no longer the correct address, you can simply highlight it, delete it, and enter the updated information. So we'll say that this maintenance technician moved to a new address, and he also now has an apartment number. The city has changed. The state, for the sake of this, we're going to leave it the same. I'll enter a new zip code. And you can also update telephone information. So let's say we're going to go ahead and put my cell phone or the maintenance cell phone record on file. You want to double check the items listed here. If there is a check within the box, the information listed next to it will also go into effect. So here, if you leave these checked, the change of address and phone number that you have for any dependents on file who currently have the same address as you will also be updated to this new address. And the same would pertain to emergency contacts. So you can choose to have that go into effect, or if you uncheck the box, it would not go into effect. I'm going to click the Save button. It will ask you to confirm your changes, so just review what's been entered. It looks good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and click Save, and it tells me my changes have now been submitted. I'm going to click the OK button, and it'll bring us back to the home page. You can see now the requests in progress, which you can click this link again to view pending documents that you've approved or submitted, has now changed to 1. So if I click this link, just to show you, a brief description is listed here, and it says employee address change for, and it lists the employee's name. So this actually shows that address request that we just submitted for the maintenance tech. If you click on the document ID, this will just give a summary of what was submitted. Anything that has a view change history link next to it, you can go ahead and click on it, and it will show you what the original value was. So originally, we had him living at 8754 Down the Road Street. And you can see, let me get this out of the way, the new address now shows 112 new address. Down below in the document history, this just lists the status of your request. So it was showing that it was originally submitted on June 6, 2009, and it's now currently requires action from HR. So basically it's waiting for HR to approve and accept this new address change within the system. Once it's been submitted, or once it's been requested by HR, it will remove from the documents pending approval folder. So I'm going to go ahead and click cancel, and it'll bring us back to the documents we've submitted screen. I'm going to click home to go back to the home page and continue where we left off with the personal information categories. So again, we updated an address change. You can also change emergency contacts. You can change a marital status. And under the birth or adoption of child is where you would go to add a new dependent. Now, we are not currently utilizing online benefit enrollment through self-service. So employees would still need to contact HR if they need to change their benefits due to a new dependent. However, they can go here and update benefit information for informational purposes only, or excuse me, dependent information for informational purposes only. Under the My Credentials, employees have the option to enter education, license and certification, as well as skills pertaining to themselves. Let's click on education, for example. It says there's no education information on file, but we can choose to click the Add to add an education record. So you just go ahead and complete the form, and there the employee can then update their file with their correct education information. I'm going to click the home page to go back to where we were. The password screen, if you click this link, it's the exact same screen that we looked at upon login, and here you can go ahead and change your password to a new one if you'd like. The email address, you can choose to update your email address here. You can also change your email address information by clicking this link as well. So you have two options as to where to go to change your email address. And then you can click on the Contact for HR questions if you have a question pertaining to HR that you would like to ask. And it will actually go ahead and pull up an email that you can go ahead and complete and will be sent to the appropriate person. Moving down to payroll and tax. Employees have access to their earning statements within self-service. Employees that are utilizing direct deposit will not receive vouchers, so they will need to come onto self-service to review their pay vouchers. Employees that receive live checks will still get those in the mail. However, if they, for whatever reason, want to go back to look at a previous pay stub that they can't locate or to print additional ones, they would need to come to self-service as well. And they could access those by clicking on the Earning Statements link. Now, as we are logged in as a test employee, they actually are not on payroll, so they haven't received any earnings through the company, but had they received earnings, it will list the check number as well as the corresponding check date. The check number would actually be a link that they could click on, and in a separate window, a copy of their voucher or pay stub would appear, and they can review and print for their records if need be. Currently, employees will have access to the past 5 years' worth of their pay information if it applies to them. I'm going to click the Cancel, and bring us back to the home page. And going back to the payroll and tax area, employees can change, delete, or modify their direct deposit information by clicking the link. They can go ahead and enter an account information. If they had one here and wanted to stop direct deposit, they would have the option to click a box under cancel, and that would then cancel their direct deposit. Employees can have up to 6 direct deposits, and they have the option to select checking or saving, would need to enter the account number, routing number, as well as an amount if they choose to have more than one as to how much dollar amount should go into one account, and if they want a different amount to go into the other, they can enter it here, or they can choose to have the remainder deposited by clicking yes. I'm going to click the cancel to go back to the home page. Check calculations. This link is just a fun little feature. I clicked on it right now, but it basically gives employees the opportunity to adjust their earning information, their state and federal tax withholding information to see how, if any changes were made, how it will affect their net pay. Going back to the home page, employees can change their W-4 status by clicking on this link and completing the W-4 online. If you are in a state that has its own state withholding form, you would need to complete that form still on paper. You can get those on the payroll page of the Dominion Connections, and we need to fax it into payroll for processing. Employees can click on See My W-2. This will bring up a separate window. It's not currently activated. However, starting in 2010, employees will have access to their 2009 W-2s as well as any future years through self-service by clicking on the See My W-2 link. Employees would log in, they could view, print, or download their W-2s into TurboTax. Retirement contributions, if you click this link, this will give you a link to MassMutual's website, who is our current 401k provider. Employees cannot actually change their 401k contributions through self-service due to limitations that the company has set up. So if you have questions or would like to make changes to your actual 401k contributions, you would want to contact payroll. However, you can click the MassMutual link to go to their website and view detailed information pertaining to your 401k account. I am going to click cancel to go back to the home page. And then the final option is the option to contact payroll if you have any questions. And it's similar to the contact for HR. It'll pull up a web address screen where you can go ahead and enter an email and send it. Moving over to the company information, these are just commonly used links that we have set up for easy access. So employees have access to eTime, which is our current time and attendance system, the intranet, as well as Voyager. If you have any suggestions, feel free to email payroll as far as additional websites that should be listed here, and we can go ahead and research and get them added. Moving over to the final option that all employees have access to is the benefits. Employees can view their benefit information by clicking the benefit summary link. Now, this test employee that we have set up now currently isn't enrolled in any benefits, so nothing is displaying here. However, if you are enrolled in benefits, I recommend you log in and just double check to see how this page displays. I'm going to go back to the home page. Current benefit statements, I'll click this link. Again, this employee currently isn't enrolled in any benefits, but if they were, it would list the benefits as well as a summary of the costs per pay and annual. Employees have the option to print for their records, or they can just review within self-service. Going back to the home page again, employees can update beneficiaries. Now, since this employee that we're logged in currently doesn't have any benefits, they wouldn't be able to update beneficiary information. However, if they were enrolled in benefits, they could come here and click the update beneficiary information and enter that information there. And then you also have the option to email HR for questions on benefits. So this is the basics. This is what, again, all employees have access to. I am now going to log out, and we'll log back in as a test community manager, and it's actually the manager that the maintenance tech that we're just logged in reports to, so that you can see what it's like as a manager with direct reports. So I am just going to quickly log in here as the manager. And you can see the page is very much the same. The only thing that's different is an employee with a manager status has access to manager activities. So I'm not going to go over the rest of the information listed here, as we already did that for the employee that we were just logged in on, and it's exactly the same. But I am going to go ahead and discuss manager activities. So I'm going to click on My Employees, and this will reflect the list of all employees that report to the manager that we're logged in as. So these two employees, leasing test and leasing maintenance test, report to the community manager that we're logged in as. I'm going to go ahead and select maintenance technician test as an example. I'm going to click next, and all these links listed here pertain to the maintenance test that we just selected. If you click on the job, this will give job history information. A brief summary is listed here with their most current, had they had more than one job history information. So for an example, if this maintenance tech started as a groundskeeper, it would list groundskeeper job information and then the maintenance tech information with the most current position on top. If you click on the job ID link, here you can get more information pertaining to the job detail for this maintenance technician. Job information is listed here, the starting date of their current position, as well as their supervisor, and then it lists business organization as far as where they are located, at what site they're working at, for an example. I'm going to click the cancel to go back. We can also add a job history information here. So if we chose to, say we're going to give this maintenance tech a promotion, that would be an example of a job change. So we can click the add button. And we are now going to make a request for a promotion for this maintenance tech. You could also use the job portion to request a change in division or a change in site number, as well as change in supervisor. Anything listed here can be done under the job screen for this employee. Also, anytime that there's writing in red, you want to be sure to take important note to that information as it pertains to the form that you're about to complete. I'm just going to go ahead and walk you through the process of requesting a promotion for one of your employees. The starting date, again, needs to be a date within the current pay period or a future date. I'm just going to use June 1st. The reason, I am going to check promotion because we are going to promote this maintenance technician, or at least request a promotion for him. The job code is the same as the title. So I'm going to go ahead and select the appropriate job code, and we're going to promote him from a maintenance technician to a maintenance supervisor. So you can click the appropriate title within the drop-down menu, and if you click away, you can see that the title also changed to reflect the job code that you selected. The supervisor, this just lists the current supervisor that this employee reports to. If this job change resulted in them reporting in a different supervisor, you could click the select button, go ahead and search by first or last name for their new supervisor, and a name would appear for them. You could go ahead and select the appropriate new supervisor and it would populate there. Now for the purpose of this training, I'm actually going to leave this maintenance technician reporting to the current community manager that's reflected here. The title should be the same as the job code, so you can leave that alone. Moving down, you can enter contact information for this employee, and then full-time equivalent. I'm not sure what that means, so I'm going to look up here, and it does state full-time equivalent should be 1 for full-time employees and 0 for part-time employees. So I want this maintenance tech to be full-time, so I'm going to leave it as 1. Percentage of compensation. What is that? If you go up here, percentage of compensation should always be 100%. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that alone. Moving down to the next area, organization information. The business unit, you can leave as none. The company, I see I have 3 options to select, and I'm not sure which one. So I'm going to go ahead and reference the notes above, and you can see under the company, 3DA stands for Site Dominion Management Employees. 3DB stands for Home Office Dominion Management Employees. And 3DD stands for Home Office Dominion Development and Acquisition Employees. Okay, well this maintenance technician is actually a site employee, so I'm going to leave the 3DA selected. Going down, the division is like the site number, for example, that they're at. And for the purpose of this training, I have a test department selected, so I'm going to do 999. The department, there's quite a few options that I'm not sure about, so I'm going to go ahead and check the notes again. And you can see there's a piece of information regarding the department. All dominium-owned properties should use either a 01 for admin, and it lists a few examples, or an 11 for maintenance, and lists a few examples. All dominium managed properties should contact payroll for clarification on which department should be selected. It is very, very important that the correct department is selected, because based on what's selected for the department can affect the way that payroll is billed on the GL and could cause a big mess within Yardi and your financials. So you want to make sure that the correct department is selected, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact payroll. For the purpose of this training, this is a dominium-owned site. And so I'm going to go ahead and click maintenance because they're in the maintenance department. You can then select the appropriate location, which is actually just the site number. So I would go ahead and select 999. And then the region is the type that would apply. And the office ID, you can use that blank. Now we have completed this request for a promotion. We can choose to submit now, meaning it would then go to the next person in the hierarchy ladder to approve, or we can choose to submit later, which means that it would then be under our document save for later link. So I'm just actually going to go ahead and choose to submit now. It's going to ask me to confirm my changes, so again, double check everything looks good. If it doesn't, you can click the cancel. It'll bring you back to the previous page where you can make the necessary corrections, or you can choose to submit now. Again, looks good to me, so I'm going to submit now. It says my changes have been submitted. Sounds great. I'm going to click the OK button, and it will bring us back to the links that we were previously at for the maintenance technician. So we just completed a job change request for a maintenance technician. We can now click on compensation. This will list a history of an employee's base compensation. If they had more than one base compensation, meaning maybe they've received raises in the past, each compensation record would reflect here. Now this employee only has one, so there's only one reflecting. It gives a brief overview here. You can also click on the link and it will give you a very similar information. But it'll give them when it was effective as well as the pay amount and the annual amount. I'm going to click cancel to go back, and here is where you would actually also could request a compensation change for an employee. To do so, you would click the add button, and it's prompting us that we need to complete some information here. So let's go ahead. The starting date would be the effective date, and let's do a compensation increase request for the maintenance technician because we just promoted him, if you remember, from a maintenance technician to a maintenance supervisor, and with that we're going to request a pay increase as well due to increased responsibility. So I entered the effective date, which is the same as his promotion date. The pay type, we have the option to select hourly or salary. Now if you are wanting to change an hourly person to salary, or if you're wanting to change a salary person to hourly, you need to contact HR prior to initiating that request within self-service so that we can ensure that they meet the eligibility requirements. However, if you're requesting to change an hourly employee's rate to another hourly employee's rate, you can go ahead and do that within self-service. So I'm going to leave hourly selected and click next. And this is the page that we would complete to request a compensation change. Again, red writing means we need to pay attention to this as we're going through the form. The starting date, which is the effective date, carries over from the previous page. The reason, you have the option to select, and again, due to the promotion, I'm going to go ahead and select that. The pay cycle, the only option is semi-monthly, so you can leave that selected. The pay type is you don't have any other options, so you can leave none selected. Oh, sorry, that was pay step. Pay type is hourly, and that's what we entered on the previous page. You can enter comments here. Now, if you have an employee that receives a rent credit, I recommend you contact payroll the first time that you do this. It is noted under the comments. Enter any necessary comments. If the employee receives a rent credit, you need to enter the monthly rent credit amount, the hourly rent credit amount, and the total hourly wage plus rent credit amount here. So you would enter the rent credit information here and then the actual cash wage under the amount of increase. If it doesn't apply to you, just disregard what I just said. If it does apply to you and you have questions, feel free to contact payroll when you're completing this form. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a brief comment here. Due to promotion to maintenance supervisor, increased responsibility. Requesting pay increase. Okay. Shift ID, you can leave that as 0. Scheduled hours per pay period. I'm not sure what that means. So if we look up here, scheduled hours per pay period. For full-time employees, we should enter 86.67. For part-time employees, we need to determine their hours, and there's just a little calculation that needs to be done. So you should follow the correct instruction based on the status of your employee, whether they're full-time or part-time. This employee is going to be full-time, so I'm going to go ahead and enter 86.67. And then for the amount of increase, for hourly employees, you need to enter the hourly increase amount. For salaried employees, you need to enter the annual increase amount. So for this specific employee, I would like to offer him a $4 an hour increase due to the promotion that we're giving him. So I want to increase his hourly wage by $4. So I'm going to enter $4 in the amount of increase. This is it for completing the necessary form for a compensation change. You can choose to submit now, submit later, or click cancel to entirely delete what we just did. And I'm just going to go ahead and let's choose submit later. For some reason, something's come up and I need to come back to this at another point to finish. So it says my changes have been saved. I click OK, and it brings us back to where we were. Once we finish this information, I will then go back and show you the document save for later, as that compensation request will be sitting in there waiting for us to finish it. Employment, if we click on this link, this will list employment information for the employee, so we can see our maintenance technician is currently part-time. He's active, and it gives his hire date. We did just request to make him full-time, but since it hasn't been approved yet, the system is still showing him as part-time. I'm going to go back by clicking the cancel. Other compensation. Those of you that have rent credit employees, this is where you would go to enter their monthly rent credit changes. So if you click the other compensation, there's nothing listed, but if we click the add, for informational purposes, you would enter the start date that the rent credit should go into effect. The type you can leave alone as monthly rent credit. The reason is position requirement, and although it states here annual amount, if you read the red writing, we actually want the monthly rent credit amount. We unfortunately can't change that annual to monthly. But go ahead and enter the monthly rent credit amount that the employee gets, and you could click Save. Now you must remember, if you're making a change to an employee's monthly rent credit amount, a compensation adjustment would also need to be done. So you would both need to fill out this page as well as the compensation page for an employee, and feel free to contact payroll the first time you're doing this. I'm going to click Cancel to go back, cancel again, and it'll bring us back to these links for the maintenance test that we're looking at. Credentials. If you click this link, if you remember when we were on the home page previously, I went over the option that you have to enter education, license, certification, and skills. Managers can actually view what their employees have entered. So had we entered education information for the maintenance tech, we could click this link and it would display here. There is nothing currently listed, so there's nothing we can see. But you have access to view this information about your employee. I'm going to click Cancel again to go back. Discipline. You can click here to add a discipline action for one of your employees. I'm going to click the Add button. And again, you can enter discipline information for a particular employee here. Now, the disciplinary review form will still need to be completed as it previously was. However, you should also do a brief summary of that disciplinary review form here. That way, both you and your manager have access to any disciplinary actions pertaining to your employees at a click of a mouse. So again, you need to fill out the form and get the necessary signatures. However, a summary should also be entered in self-service for easy access for yourself and manager. I'm going to click the cancel to go back and cancel to go back again so I can get to these links easily. If you click the profile link, if you remember when we were on the home page, we clicked on My Profile. This lists personal information, employment information, the exact same thing that we previously looked at, just the manager can look at it for their employee. I am going to go back by clicking the cancel, and we have now discussed all the options that managers with direct reports have access to. So if we go click cancel again, we can then select the other employee, which is the leasing consultant, click next, and all these links would pertain to that leasing consultant. If we go back to the home page, you can see the requests. We now have a few things pending. If we click on requests in progress, we have an employee job save for the maintenance test. So if you remember when we entered the promotion for the change to maintenance supervisor, if you click on the link, this just shows that request that we sent. If you go down to document history, you can see when it was initiated, as well as right now it requires action from the regional manager. So this request has been sent to the regional manager of the community manager that we're currently logged in on, and the regional manager can approve or reject it. If they approve, we'll be able to then see that the regional manager approved it, and it has now gone on to the next person in line to approve. You can also click the View Change Histories to view what the previous information was. I'm going to go back to the home page, and under Documents Save for Later, here is that compensation request that we started and didn't finish for our maintenance technician due to his promotion. If you click the link, here is the exact same form that we completed right where we left off. We can make changes or just review it. If it looks good, you can either submit it now, or you can come back to it later and it would be under the Save for Later link. So let's go ahead and just submit now. It's going to ask you to review it. Looks good to me. Submit now again, and it's now been submitted for approval. If you click OK, it's going to bring you back to the actual page where you request it. But I'm going to go back to the home page, and you can see we now have 2 requests in progress. And it's now the job save, so that request for the actual promotion, and then the compensation change is pending right now. So those are the capabilities that managers with indirect reports have access to. I am going to log out and log back in one more time to show you what a manager with both direct and indirect reports has access to. So let's go ahead and log in. I'm going to log in as the regional manager for that community manager that we were just logged in as. You can see page looks exactly the same. Regional managers also have access to manager activities. Let's go ahead and review here. Under our to-dos, we have 2 documents that are pending our approval. If we click on this link, here are those 2 changes that we requested for our maintenance tech. Click on the document ID to get the details for it. Again, I can also click the View Change History to see what he previously was and what he's requested a change for, or what the manager has requested a change for. Go ahead and review. If everything looks good, the regional manager can approve it, click Save, and it will go to the next person in line to approve, or they can reject it. We recommend entering a comment if you choose to reject, and it will go back to the community manager where they can make changes and resubmit. So I'm going to just go ahead for this purpose, click Approve, and click Save. It has now gone on to the next person to approve. And we could do the same for the compensation request. If we go back to the home page, you may have a good idea of how this works, but now we have a request in progress, and it's showing the employee job save has been approved. If we click the ID button, or the link for the ID, and we scroll down, you can see action as completed and it's been approved. And the community manager that requested this would also see the same information. Going back to the home page, everything, as I may have already mentioned, is exactly the same as we went over. We can choose the My Employees under Manager Activities, and this will be a list of the community managers that report directly to the regional manager that we're logged in as. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave the first one selected. Click Next. These links are the same thing that we just went over and pertain to the community manager that we're selected. Managers with indirect reports also have access to this direct reports link. If you click on this link, I can now view information pertaining to my indirect reports. So these would be the employees that respond or report to the community manager that reports to me. So let's go ahead and just select leasing consultant for an example. If we click Next, all these links pertain to the leasing consultant test and are exactly what we just went over. So everything that we went over, managers can do for their employees, and managers can also do for their indirect employees as well. I'm going to go back to the home page. There are two more things I briefly want to discuss. As I mentioned, documents do expire after 10 days. If you are going to be unavailable to approve your requests or review them within self-service for more than 10 days, we recommend that you choose to delegate your workflow responsibility. To do that, you would need to do it for both of these links, but you could click on the workflow responsibility. You would then choose to pick an employee. You can search by first name or last name. I'm just going to go ahead and search by last name. It will pull up everybody with that last name. It could go ahead and click the employee that we want to temporarily delegate our workflow to, meaning any requests that come in, instead of coming to us, it will come to the person that we have selected to approve and accept in our absence. So you would select the name, click the checkbox, and click Save. As long as this checkbox is selected, all requests are going to go to this person instead of you. Simply uncheck the box and click Save to remove that delegate activity. I'm going to click Save and go back. And you would need to do the same for delegate responsibility. Simply come in, pick an employee, search by last name. Oops, I searched by me out of habit. If I were to select my name, any workflow that came to this employee would now be routed to me to approve until my access was removed. You go ahead and click Cancel. So again, if you're going to be away, you definitely want to assign people to both of these two so that your employees' requests are promptly responded to. So that is the gist of self-service. I have a few more slides under the PowerPoint that I want to show you. As previously mentioned, there are some requests that still, or situations that will require a change of status or paper forms. So all new hire paperwork would still need to be completed on the actual forms. You can access those on the HR new hire page on the Dominium Connections. So you still need to send in paper forms for new hires. Terminations need to be indicated on a change of status and faxed in. Bonuses and commissions need to be completed on the appropriate form and sent in. A leave of absence should also be indicated on a change of status. Disciplinary reviews, as previously mentioned, you still need to complete these forms, get the appropriate signatures, and send them in. However, you should also enter a summary under the disciplinary action piece within self-service. Job performance reviews need to be done on their paper forms and sent in. If you have employees that have permanent payroll allocations, so their payroll split to more than one site is through payroll, those need to be done on a change of status form and sent in. And again, changes that are to be effective prior to the current pay period need to be done on a manual form. You can only do changes within self-service for the current and future dates. Further enhancements to self-service are going to be coming, so be sure to watch for notifications on the Dominium Connections page. As a reminder, all managers must train their new employees on the system. Listed here is a list of items that all employees should go in and verify and update upon their initial login. So have them double check the contact information, their emergency contacts, the beneficiaries and dependents, and add them accordingly, as well as add license, certifications, and education. You also want to be sure that their full-time equivalent is correct, and that is on the job and the compensation tab. So you want to double check that your employees have the correct full-time equivalent or part-time equivalent and update as necessary. Upon your completion of watching this presentation, you should email me. My email address is listed here, confirming the date and time that you viewed this presentation. You also need to include the code listed there within the email. If you have any questions about self-service, please feel free to contact me or anyone else in HR, and we hope you enjoy the system, and thank you very much for your time today.